All right, before we get started, everybody, this is Adam, just giving you a heads up. This is definitely episode number 8. I misspoke on the episode, which you will hear in about 3, 2, 1. All right, everybody. Hello. It is episode number 9 at the Blue Ox Running Podcast. I feel like I say this every time, but it feels weird to do this again. I feel a little rusty. Don't even know what episode it was 10 seconds ago because we've been a little delinquent in getting them out every month or so. This is episode number 9. We started the podcast this year, 2019, and we are going to get 10 episodes in. We are going to have actually a staff episode, kind of a year roundup by the time December and the holidays finish. But Alicia, it is episode number 9. What day is it? December what?
12th.
Yes, it is December 12th. We're approaching the holidays. Not quite there yet, but what is one word that describes your everyday life since people have heard from you last, which is probably 2.5 months ago? Just one word off the top of your noggin.
Football.
Football. All right. Why? Just because today? We'll talk about it later. One word only, please. One word to describe your running life right now. I know mine.
What?
I wouldn't say a word because it's literally non-existent. Have not been running for a while, which is a good thing. But you are, so what's your word?
Icy.
Icy. Okay, we're going to get into those couple words, and we absolutely have a room full of guests today. We have 3 guests. It's a new record. They're going to be sharing the microphone. We don't have enough headphones, so we're going to see if this all sounds good and everything. But we have the folks from Trail Transformation today. 3 of the folks. There are more than that on their whole crew. Let's get into the intro music, and then we will hear from the herd in a little bit. So what's your spring running goal?
Qualify for the Boston Marathon.
Claim the beer mile title.
Training for a triathlon.
20 minutes again under a 5K.
The run happy.
Balance, running and family.
Finish Grandma's marathon.
Do not die.
Fast.
Or slow.
Let's go! Fast or slow? Let's go! Fast or slow?
All right. That's our motto here. Fast or slow, let's go. We're here for the fast runners, the slow runners, the walkers, the people that don't care about running but need good footwear and good apparel. But this podcast is kind of geared towards the story side of our store. It's not about the products, it's about the people. And we're going to hear from one of our people, which is Alicia. Your word, I already forget. Oh, football. Football is your word. Why? It's Thursday.
Yep, the boys are in flag football, and Thursdays are just filled with that.
Yeah, Thursdays in the fall, we have our group run at 6 p.m. We also have between 2 or 3 hours, 5 p.m. to 7:40 p.m. We have a couple of boys that are in flag football, so we're constantly driving around. Eau Claire is a great-sized city where we can take part in the group run, fly up there, see some flag football, go to McDonald's, fly back here, do some abs with the group run.
Which works great after you eat McDonald's.
That's right. Alicia usually does that. I usually don't, especially right now, I usually don't run and don't do abs and watch football. So football is the word of the day for today. Well, and the Badgers played Ohio State. Leo and I were actually in the airport, our middle kid, and we saw the first half, which was awesome. And then we taped the second half. I kept my phone on airplane mode and shut out the whole world for a half a day. And second half didn't go as well. So we're in the middle of bowl season. What about your running life, Alicia? You said icy. It's December. It's snowing outside right now.
Yep, winter came awful fast here. And
yeah. Is it technically winter right now? What's the first day of winter?
21st. Excuse me.
Okay, are you going to be all right? December 21st. So we're technically still in fall. I saw someone shared like the weather from one of the newscasters that said we broke 100 inches this calendar year because we had such a big February, especially February, March, April last year, or of this year, 2019. And then we got started a little early this year. So we're definitely in good ski season, I suppose.
I keep on thinking this is all going to go away,
right.
And we're still going to get some good weather Funny story, I went out with 2 girls in the snowstorm to get it done, and
A run.
yet we all biffed in the same one block.
You all fell together?
Nope,
Holding hands?
one after the other, and we all laughed. No one
there you
got
go.
hurt. So
No one got hurt. Well, that's good. So you got to be careful out there. We do see kind of that first. I mean, we had our first cold snap. It was a high of 6 degrees or something for the last couple days. A little warmer this morning at 15 degrees, but we are definitely getting snow. So that's something to think about. Something to think about for a lot of you. It's the off season for running. We're going to talk about that. What's the same? What's different with how we approach maybe our year? What you have on your calendar? What you don't have on your calendar? It's all kind of. It comes around every year. It's an off season for a lot of people, but you can definitely run and exercise in the winter. I know our Mizuno rep, Ben, from the Twin Cities, this is like his favorite time of year to run. I mean, maybe not in the worst storms and when it's icy and stuff, but like it's just crisp. He dresses for it, and it's like really enjoyable for him, more than like 90 degrees and humid.
I like winter too. Remember we had this argument about favorite season
Well,
of
fall
running?
is the best. We're technically still in fall right now, so absolutely. So, what are you doing in the spring? What are you running for? I don't understand why someone would run in the snow right now. Why are you doing that?
I am training for my first marathon.
Oh.
Grandma's. So just doing base mileage now.
Yep. First full.
Yep.
Alicia, you have never done a marathon before? That's crazy.
I hear that at least once a week.
Right. Right. So for some people, that marathon is kind of the golden distance. Some people have goals at shorter distances and could give a rip about the marathon. Some people have goals at longer distances. Some people have goals that don't even involve time or distance. So we hear that all the time in the store. There's kind of these artificial benchmarks that are true for some people, but not others. I remember doing my first marathon. Didn't think I would do it for probably another 3 or 4 years, but just got curious. And some people jump up to it really quick. Some people don't give a rip. And there's all kinds of people in between. We're going to talk about that today with our guests. We have 3 guests in the room, actually. They are definitely part of our herd. Remember, our herd isn't just people that shop here. It's people that come to our group runs. It's people that enjoy our social media. It's people all around the globe, actually. International herd members for Blue Ox Running. These 3 people have actually helped us out personally with our own fitness, nutrition, but more importantly, kind of the broader community in the western Wisconsin, Minnesota area. Trail Transformation is based out of La Crosse, Wisconsin, which is only 90 miles south of here, roughly. And so they do coaching, they do nutrition, they do a ton of different stuff. They have physical therapy, and I'm going to let them describe it a lot better than I am. But for now, we are going to hear from the herd. Moo. Moo. All right, there's a couple extra moos in there today. We are going to hear from the herd. We have Rachel, we have Jake, and we have Austin in today. I'm going to let them introduce themselves better than I would. But essentially, our whole theme here is everyone everyone does have a different starting line with running. You might have entered the running scene differently than someone else, but we're all kind of going through the same stuff, whether it's recovery, good nutrition, training plans, going out there and just enjoying the morning for yourself. There's all these things that we can kind of relate to. But Austin, what is your entry point into the running scene?
Yeah, so I didn't get started running until college, actually, sophomore year. I played goalie in high school lacrosse, so I didn't have to run originally, but packed on the freshman 15 at UWL and figured this would be a good way to drop the weight. Got into it more actually on the triathlon side of things, so did a couple of sprints and then did an Ironman, and then started hanging out with the wrong or right crowd with Mr. Heggie here, and got hooked and did Voyager as my first trail race. And
Voyager what, 100?
50. Voyager 50, yeah.
Nice.
So it was a little bit of an interesting entry to the trail scene, but got to have some fun, and it was different than anything I imagined, and just kind of never looked back.
How long ago was that? Voyager 50, your first trail ultra, is that right?
Yep. That was in 2016.
Okay. So it's been 3 years, and since then, give me a quick bullet list of some of your adventures.
Yeah.
You just went down, I mean, that was Voyager 50, then you like the shorter stuff since then, right?
Something like that. No, I put my name in the hat for Leadville the following year. Actually, my dad put my name in the hat as a Christmas present. So I found out on January 15th that I was going to run a 100-mile race in 2017. So
at altitude?
At altitude, yeah. Had Jake come out and pace me, and we had some fun out there. And after that, I kind of took a down year and didn't do a whole heck of a lot. I threw a 50K in there and a marathon or two, but that was about it. I kind of thought I was done with the big stuff, and then came back the following year. And so that would be last year. I did the Ouray 100 out in the San Juan Mountains in Colorado.
Would you say that's more or less rugged than Leadville, as far as just vertical?
Yeah, it's definitely more rugged.
Yep, definitely.
So I think Leadville has like 17,000 feet of climbing, and this one had about 41,000 feet. So it was an interesting race, but it was a lot of fun.
I didn't realize your entry point was not that long ago.
Yes.
Yeah. No one ever said I was smart.
Cool. Austin likes to suffer. And then a lot of people that came to our group run, we always do a trail night in the spring where we have a lot of gear. We show you the trails. If you've never done trail running or if you've done it forever, it's a really great night, a lot of giveaways, and it kind of thaws out the winter trails from skiing to running. And then in the fall was the first time we had a trail night where we did more of a trail clinic. And these guys all came up, gave us some good pointers, especially on form. And Austin was about to go run the full length of the Superior hiking trail. And long story short, got the record, FKT, fastest known time for north to south. Is that right?
Yeah, I started up near the border and finished down near Jay Cook.
So how long and how many miles?
That was about 312 miles, and it took about 6 days and 8 hours.
Yeah. So that's a lot of running.
Yeah, it was a little much. I'm finally starting to run again after that. So.
Yep, awesome. Jake, entry point into running. We'll get into where you guys are at now, but entry point into running, how long ago, and what was the build up to you doing kind of similar events?
Well, I go all the way back to 7th grade. I was actually chasing this girl around the playground.
That's right.
And she convinced me to go up for the cross country team. No experience running whatsoever. Did my first race, and I think I was like 92nd out of 96 people. It was a 2-mile race, ran for a mile, and then walked it in.
Nice.
But kept at it. Kept chasing that girl as well. She is now my wife.
Really?
So we go way back.
She was 5th place that day, right?
Yeah, right. She was actually pretty speedy. Has all the high school course records down in Verona. So
you guys both went to Verona?
You got it.
Good.
Yep. So kept running all throughout middle school, high school. Went on to run cross country and track at UW La Crosse. Enjoyed that, but then just kind of started looking for more. Got into the trail running scene down in La Crosse. Back in 2010, found my first big ultramarathon, which was the Chippewa 50K.
Mm-hmm.
Had a great time. I kicked down John Storkamp in the last 50 meters.
Okay, John, hear that.
And kind of the rest was history. I was just hooked from there. Did the Voyager 50 miler later that summer. Had a good time. One of our other coaches and a good friend of mine, Mike Borst, and I ran that. We went 1-2, and we kind of kept going 1-2. We'd switch back and forth in all of these trail races, all the ultramarathons throughout the Midwest, and just having a blast with it. And this was all while finishing up my undergrad at UW La Crosse. I was an exercise sports science major, kept things rolling at UWL, jumped into the physical therapy program, and kept going with the running side of things. So I've done four 100-milers at this point. I've done the Superior 100, Grindstone, and then the Bighorn 100. So I guess only 3. No, and Zumbro. Sorry, Zumbro 100.
You've each done those once?
Yes.
Got it.
Yep.
Cool.
So yeah, I've been kind of all over the place with my running career out west. I've done a couple of races in California. I've been over to France to run the CCC as part of the UTMB series.
Yep.
But yeah, it's been a fun journey.
The year you ran Superior, was that first place?
It was first place.
And second place was not Michael Boris, was
Second
our buddy.
was Mike.
Oh,
second
third
Mike.
was Joe Uhan?
Well, so Joe actually came back the following year.
Oh, he was chasing your
Yes, he
record.
was going after it, and I paced him actually that
Got
year.
it. That's what I'm thinking of.
But yeah, Joe. So
he took second or third that year, though,
he was
right?
Second there.
Gotcha.
Yep. And he wasn't a huge fan of the course. He's a little too tall. For those of you that don't know, the Superior Hiking Trail has quite a bit of overgrowth, and for tall people, they're just hitting all the branches.
Yeah. So quick, common friend before Jake and I got to know each other, Joe Uhan, UW Eau Claire grad. He's kind of from Minnesota in the River Falls area, but lives out in Oregon right now. I was going to pace him at Western States 2013. Went out there. That's the year he didn't have a good race. The next year I got in and he paced me, and then eventually he ran Superior. So he's run Western States. He was top 10 one year. And Western is definitely a mountain run, but it's not the most rugged in the United States, something like Ouray or Hard Rock especially. But then this little hidden gem that's not hidden anymore is Superior in the Midwest. It's not in a big mountain range like the Rockies, but it will tear you up because it's a hiking trail. And the vertical, I remember him saying, and just looking at times, people that run Western, people that run Superior, they're much slower because it's a slower course. It's like no joke. It's probably the hardest course, you think, in
the
Midwest?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. And Rachel, we have Rachel with us. She's been helping out with nutrition, among other things with trail transformation. Give us a little insight about how you got into this crazy sport.
Yeah, I've actually been running longer than most of these guys, believe it or not. I've been running since I was 8, 9 years old. I started as a sprinter. Winning my sprinting races in grade school. And then kind of as grade school went on, middle school, 8th grade or so, I started mid-distance. Jumped into high school running, started as a mid-distance runner, and then my coach we did a 400-meter trial. And he was like, okay, that's okay, but let's have you do a mile.
Yeah.
So I did a mile, and he's like, yeah, you're definitely a distance runner. You're too short to be mid-distance. So I started mid-distance and then jumped into the still mile and such in high school.
Yeah.
I think I did the 2 mile a couple times, hated it because, again, I didn't really love the super long stuff.
Yeah. In high school, that 2 miles is just
so
super long.
It goes forever. And then I hopped into college running, accidentally joined cross country.
At La Crosse as well, or where?
Viterbo University.
That's
so
right.
it's in La Crosse, but smaller private school.
Yeah.
Went in for track and then was just training with the cross country team. And then all of a sudden he put me in meets, and that was that.
Sweet.
So that's kind of how I started longer distance running. Ended with the 10Ks by the end of college. So
pretty traditional track, cross country, road background.
Exactly.
And then what are you doing lately?
Yeah, so I hopped into never really took a break from running. Kind of went into marathons, did a couple marathons, half marathons, and then joined this crew.
Yeah.
And they convinced me to do the trails, and it's much better.
Yeah.
I mean, I still do my road running, but I definitely like the trails. So now I'm doing 50Ks, 50 milers, jumping into 50 milers, and then hopefully 100K.
Awesome. Very good. So one thing I wanted to just ask is kind of the primary focus of trail transformation. There's a lot of different services you guys provide, but it's called trail transformation. How does the trail running? It's a good segue from where Rachel was talking, because a lot of people are kind of back and forth, roads, trails, whatever race they're running, however they're training. But how do the trails specifically play into not just the services you provide, but how you build good, strong training for all different types of running?
Yeah, so...
Do you have to just be a trail runner?
No, you do not. So kind of goes back to my own personal running. Back in high school and even, early on in college, so much of the focus of training was on the roads. And I would just always find myself beat up by the end of the season. But then when I made that transition to the trail scene, I was running faster, I was running stronger, and no injuries. I was like, what is going on here?
Yep.
I'm doing, the same training, it's just switching it over to the trails, and, I'm feeling a lot better. So there's a lot of changes in the biomechanics, the surface, less impact. But how the the name of the business, Trail Transformation, my wife actually came up with it. I remember sitting down in the basement one night, and we're talking about the whole coaching thing, and she's like, well, you love trails so much, why don't you just name it Trail Transformation? So we do work with a lot of, obviously, trail runners, but coach people of all, abilities, all distances, all events. And how the coaching side of things got started in the first place was in the PT world. So treating a lot of runners in the clinic, fixing up their injuries, giving them good exercises to do on their own. It'd only be a matter of time, a couple weeks, couple months, a year later, they'd come back in with the same issue, similar issue. It's like, what's happening? I'm giving you the tools, to treat yourself. But why are they still coming back? And it all came back to the training error. So basically the plan that they're following, whether it's too much too soon, not enough variety, or they're just not doing things correctly for that event.
Yep.
So that was kind of the missing puzzle piece. Is once you're done with the physical therapy side of things, let's get you transitioned into a good training plan.
Right.
Make sure that you're able to get to the start line feeling strong, but also perform well on race day. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there, Runner's World and all that has all sorts of plans.
Right.
But the problem is it's not specific to the individual based off of their experience and their goals. So saw a lot of success with that on the kind of transitioning PT patients into coaching clients, and then we decided to take it a step further. Like, let's prevent injury.
Yes.
In the first place.
So you're not just reacting to when things come up.
Correct.
You're providing essentially sustainable habits.
Correct. Yep.
And plans to not be in an injury position in the first place.
You got it. So, taking a healthy runner or someone that's had a lot of injuries in the past, let's get you on a good training plan. Let's get you on a good strength and mobility routine. Let's start addressing your diet, all of those things to make sure that you can get to that goal, strong, feeling good, and perform. Versus just waiting for a problem to come up.
Right. So when we talk about variety, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say you coach Margaret Ho, who is a UW Eau Claire grad.
Yeah, she won the
Eau Claire Marathon. Just to give people perspective, because Jake shared this with me, she does all of her training on trails, correct?
For the most part, yeah. Depending on what she just ran actually the Milwaukee Lakefront marathon and threw down a 2:47.
Yeah, jeez.
So we got into a little bit more road, specific stuff for that, but a majority of her training was on the trail because one of Margaret's big issues was always running into injuries. How can we, get you to a really good performance standpoint, but minimize the injury risk.
Yeah.
So with that variety, a lot of times, so Alicia, you just kind of started your trail running, I mean, not career, but like your first trail races this year.
Of two.
Well, you ran Afton 25K, then you ran Hickson, but like, and you've run on the trails before. Like we even would run at Lowe's Creek and do cross-country workouts during school and stuff. But what was the main difference when you got out to Afton and like started racing as opposed to like being in a road race? Like you described to me how much passing there was. And
like
back passing
up
and down hills.
A baby on the trails. Like I'm so inexperienced going up and down, and then like we get out to the like on Hickson, there's a part you go out on the road and you go into openness. I pass so many people, and then we get on the single track and people are like trying to weave around me. So it's a huge learning curve, like because I just kind of went into it with mainly roads, and I ran with my brother even, and I mean there's a lot of technique to it, in my opinion.
Yes. I mean, flatter road courses, the fitness has to be that you kind of can't hide the fitness, but then there's so many more variables when it comes to climbing, descending, the technical stuff. When I think of variety, I think of like what I've done before, and I've done a lot of trail racing, but I've primarily done kind of my same training, like heavy base, same workouts, threshold workouts, speed workouts. I mean, I ran Western States when I was living in Iowa. So it was kind of this, like, I wasn't specific at all. I would just try to get really, really fit and then go do something fun. Mm-hmm. And it worked out, like you're fit enough to like finish and kind of have these goals. But what I've kind of done this year with the help from these guys is like almost flip that around, like have more variety in the training even if you're training for a road race that could be speedier, you can get a lot of your longer endurance runs a lot easier on your joints by going out and doing 3 hours at Lowe's Creek or something rather than 2.5 hours on the roads. That's actually going to be more beneficial and less risky. So when we talk about variety in, races that we want to run and goals, and it's cool to run at this trail, but also variety within the training itself. Is that right? I mean, like what's one main thing that you would take from a road background and still keep into trail racing?
Yeah, definitely the quality side of things. I'd say that's something from a lot of trail runners that we see is they put in a lot of miles or a lot of time on their feet,
right?
But they're afraid to get out of their comfort zone and start addressing the speed or the hills. Building up those quality miles is going to get you out of your comfort zone and work on some of that technique, the uphills and the downhills, versus the road running side of things. Right, you're going to have your intervals, your pace runs, but when people switch over to the trail, like, I'm just going to go for an hour trail run, you can still do workouts on the trail, hill repeats, intervals, out and backs.
Right.
So getting yourself out of the comfort zone on the trails.
Yeah. Rachel, how does nutrition play into someone's, not just race day? We've talked a lot about the difference between race day nutrition and having that be dialed in for the individual and not puking your guts out during the middle of the race, and having the electrolytes and the hydration and the calories balanced. And that's a race day discussion, but also, like we're talking about now, that sustainable everyday nutrition, like the training part. What's something that everyone can take as far as a guideline, not just like a specific diet, but how does everyday nutrition impact performance?
Yeah, that's actually, it's not necessarily more important than the race day stuff, but it kind of is, because I'd say my biggest thing is like, how are we fueling and recovering from our workouts? Because if we're just eating awful or not eating after a workout, we are going to get almost nothing from it. Like our fitness can only take us so far.
Yes.
So I'd say the biggest thing is, how are we eating after a workout to recover and rebuild that muscle, rebuild those glycogen stores so that we have enough energy to, function day to day, but also to do our next workout the next day. So if we're staying well fueled, we are going to get that much more out of each workout that we're doing. But then also just in general, if our body's in a healthy spot, it's getting all the nutrients it needs, we're able to just function and perform that much better in general. So it just really helps us stay on top of our game and perform as best we can just day to day.
Yeah, one thing that was kind of a paradigm shift for me was, I've known this for a while, that you build fitness by tearing your body down, then building it back up. And that's, when you run and when you exercise, you're literally tearing it down and making yourself less fit. And then it's about what you do before that next run or workout or quality run to build it back up. And most often our training log is just keeping track of all the tear down. How many miles did you run? How many minutes? How much am I doing this week? Where's the quality workout? You're literally just, and when you look back at your logs and look ahead on your logs, you're just looking at how am I tearing my body down? Whereas it is helpful to document and to even have in one place, how are you recovering? So how was sleep? How was recovery from a nutritional standpoint after that quality workout? How does maybe your race weight fluctuate? And that's not a day-to-day thing, but maybe a 10-day average or something. But to be able to look alongside of the teardown and document and see along with your training plans, how am I recovering as well, is helpful. Because I've had the same training plan go totally different on race day because I'm doing the same work to tear down my body, but the way I'm rebuilding it and my stress and life balance is totally not recovering myself.
Yeah, that's like the exact metaphor that I use, is that that's the exact point of strength training and running. You are tearing it down, but if you aren't eating, like, food is what rebuilds our body. Like that's the fuel for life. So if we aren't refueling, we're just continually tearing it down. We might not realize it. A lot of people don't realize it, and a body is a crazy thing, can adapt to, unfortunately, some crazy things, but we are going to get that much more out of it, and it's over time. That's what leads to injuries. That's what leads to malnourishment, just those different crazy
just
things.
Like over time, cumulative mileage has a good effect, and just kind of giving yourself that durability. But you can kind of cheat on poor nutrition for a season, but over time, it's going to catch up to you.
Yeah. There's a really good book out there called Peak Performance, and they actually touch on that point you just said. Stress plus rest equals growth.
Right.
I mean, your hard days hard, easy days easy, and it's the easy days where you truly, make the gains, right? The hard workouts are what break you down.
Right.
Then you need to make sure you recover. And the other good thing you brought up is the life stressors, something a lot of people neglect. Whether you have, a long week at work, right, or you're putting in a 12-hour day,
right?
If some family member is sick, you have to factor all of those things in. It can't just be the training plan.
Well, because your new baby just sleeps like 12 hours a night, right? Exactly when you want to sleep.
Yes.
You still continue to get 12 hours of sleep a night because now you have a baby. It's actually easier.
Yep.
Okay, got you.
So Adam and I personally have both sat down with Rachel, and she's helped us tremendously on different ends of the spectrum. I struggle with consuming enough calories just with lifestyle with 3 kids. And so just to even have her, for anyone listening, as accountability, to track what you're eating. And then Adam, who really struggled with actually during race day and the puking and his stomach bothering him, It was amazing to see him at JFK. We saw him at
background. The puking happened 9 weeks before that at a hot, humid race at Goosebumps in La Crosse.
Well, and I know him. I can see from miles away when he's low. And so he was really low at Goosebumps.
At Goosebumps.
Yes.
Long story short, probably was doing enough, if not too much calories, but the hydration side for that day and the electrolytes were totally off, which leads to just your muscles, like Rachel says, food and water is literally transporting to your muscles what it needs. So when it doesn't get what it needs, I'm stopped. All the blood in my stomach is working at heat, at cooling, and I puked like 5 times in front of Alicia. Then she fed me applesauce like a baby. It was awesome.
Yes, but so they tailored what he needs or figured out. Everyone's going to be a little bit different. He's a heavy sweater, and so to say all this, at JFK we saw him at 38, and I knew he was low. I could see it, but it was amazing to see him down food. He just which we've never done. I've crewed him many times and want it and be able to keep it down. And then, so that was a huge victory.
That was a huge win. Honestly, in my ultra racing period is to I didn't expect ever to go through a full race and just feel great the whole time. You're always going to have your ups and your downs. Mm-hmm. But the difference on this was I was a little down on calories, and I went to the aid station, and I was Pringles, handful, Red Bull. Yeah. I was give me.
In the past, he would just be eat
sick.
Anything. He's no.
Yeah. And then I probably took 400 calories in at that aid station, jogged so I didn't have it hit my system too much, and then 25 minutes later, I was raging on the roads. I was back.
So awesome.
It was amazing. So to go through a low and not just be in damage control, but to come out of it was huge. Austin, when we talk about these cycles of tearing down and recovery, I mean, you can talk about the microcycles. Every day humans are resting, we are sleeping. So you have this daily recovery. And then every week, you have your harder days and your easy off days. And then every month, you can kind of talk about these seasons. You're in a huge kind of recovery macro cycle from a huge effort that's lasting weeks. I mean, I saw you at Goosebumps, which was weeks and weeks after your Superior Hiking Trail effort, and you hadn't really run, which is a good thing. So talk about the difference between letting that body recover and be ready for the next season as opposed to just the next day.
Yeah, I like to think of myself as these guys' biggest project. Before Rachel, I'd never finished a race without puking. And before I started working with Mike, I never really had a lot of success on the big races that I do. So honestly, it's a big learning curve for myself, trying to get back into things. I remember constantly whining to Jake over the past 2 months that dude, I just don't want to run. It takes time, unfortunately. No matter how much you want to run, every time I would step out the door, I never hit the point where I wanted to take a run longer than I was planning, right? If everything.
So since you ran Superior.
Yep.
Okay, got you.
Yeah. So So for the longest time, up until maybe a week or two ago, it's like, all right, I'm going to go out, I'm going to go do 4 miles, or I'm going to go do an hour, because I do have races coming up, one within the next month, unfortunately. And it's like, I know I need to get out there, but I just never had the desire to keep going, which will happen in a training cycle, right? If you're feeling good, you know, the run feels good. It's like, I'm going to go another mile or two. So I'm finally starting to come around on that side of things. So
good. So like, rest and recovery is more than just like, oh, I got enough sleep and food today. It's kind of, there's that daily cycle, there's the seasonal cycle. And then like, I mean, honestly, after I ran my first 100 miler in 2014, we were coming up on our third kid. I was changing jobs. Like, we were moving. I was like, I have no plans. I'm not even going to run. Like, I just have nothing on my calendar for like 9 months. And I didn't run a step for 6 or 7 months. I remember that first run back, I had to go like pick up my car because it had service on it. And I was like, what is this? I felt like such a beginner, but it was such a good half a year, 6, 7, 8, 9 months of like almost no exercise. I mean, I would kind of dabble into different cross trainings, and every 4 or 5 years, I think it's kind of good to not have a plan and come back to a point, like you're saying, Austin, where you kind of crave it and you like you're hungry for it again. If you feel over stressed about it or whatever, I'm kind of there right now to get back at training after I've been off for 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, it feels a lot like hitting the reset button on your computer, right? Like everything kind of reboots itself. You have that desire to want to get out there and do it again. And these guys can speak a lot more to it on the training side of things. But like I said, I'm a fun project to work with, I'm sure.
Yeah, Austin was asking how long it was going to take to recover, and I told after the SHT, and I was like, it's going to take a couple months. When you go that deep for that long, it's going to take your body months to recover.
So after a 50 miler, I mean, in my opinion, the hardest recovery for me is a road marathon, because it's still fast. It is a long race. But it's a good balance of fast, long, and usually on the roads, you just take a pounding. Like, there's just a lot of stress on your muscles and body. I'm the most sore. It's the most painful recovery. I recover easier from a 50 miler than that. What's your experience with recovering from the marathon on up?
I totally agree. I'd take a trail 50 miler over a road marathon any day. The road marathon's a lot more of your physical stress. I just feel like my muscles and joints are so achy afterwards. The recovery physiologically is fairly quick, but you still need to respect that downtime because you put in such a fast effort for so long. But once you get up into like the 100-mile distance and the trail side of things, like my Superior 2015, it probably took me a good 6 months to actually like want to train again.
Wow.
I was still kind of running really, really low volume, no intensity or anything, but I just felt like I was sitting at like 90% recovered for that whole time. Because I went deep for so long, and it wasn't just a physical stress. You know, you start diving into some of the neurological fatigue, some hormonal imbalances, all of that. So it just took a lot longer for me to recover from that standpoint. And you have to respect the recovery process. Because if you try pushing through it too soon, your body's going to fight back, and then you're going to be forced to shut down.
I always compare these long races with Adam to childbirth. and needing recovery, and everyone's different with that. Like, you can't compare apples to apples with that, because I know women that come back really quickly after having kids too, and you need to do what is best for you. But
and it can be different with each kid.
Right, but same thing. Like, I took many years off, and I just felt like I needed it. Like, because I had been, my entry point was very young too, and it just took a long time to come back. Well,
and you kind of forget about the pain, and a lot of people say that too. Like, I remember doing my first marathon. It went really well, and I got to the finish line, and I'm like one and done. I'm done. I will never do that again. I did that with probably the first time you do a new distance. Like,
you guys aren't encouraging me to want to do my first marathon, by the way, either.
No, I mean, and then you kind of, I literally remember running Goosebumps in that last 2 hours when I was just in the pain cave, being like, I think I'm switching up the rest of 2019. I don't think I'll do an ultra again, period.
He says this after every race.
No, I don't. Not that seriously. Not during the race especially. But like, I was like, I'm not going to do JFK. I'm switching my...
Yeah, he told me he wasn't doing JFK, but he was signed up for it. I'm like, well, let's just wait a couple days, see what happens.
And my recovery after that day was not as good. Anyway, so And then I got some confidence back with some good training, ran Hickson, and then I was like, oh, heck yeah, I'm hungry.
He's like, I'm ready.
And then after JFK, I was like, I'm going to do a 100-miler next year. I'm going to do it. So I've had to like give myself almost like a restriction to sign up for anything right after a race, good or bad, because I kind of told myself not until January can I have next year's plan.
Yeah, similar to what you experienced at Goosebumps. When I was on the SHT, actually, my whole year was building towards putting my name in the hat for Arrowhead, which, if you don't know Arrowhead, it's a 135-mile race through the winter up in International Falls, and the registration period fell over my time on the trail. I'm like, I originally had plans to have my girlfriend sign me up for it while I was out there, and like day 2, I'm like, don't even think
don't even do it. Like, back to hockey.
Like, I am never running again, and I think I ranted to Rachel a few times on the trail.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, it's kind of a good. Are you guys all in the off season right now? Kind of off season, or like what do you guys have coming up for 2020?
Well, I have a 50-miler Saturday down in
there you go.
Iowa.
All right, no big deal.
Which one?
It's the Hitchcock 50.
Yeah, cool.
I was supposed to do the 100, and then I talked some sense in myself. Like, okay, that's not a good way to start off the year.
Yeah.
But just from like a way to kind of break it up, I haven't done anything since the Superior 50, and I've heard good things about the event.
Yeah.
I'm not trained for it at all. I'm just going to go out there and have a good time.
Good.
And then St. Croix 40 is coming up in a month. Same thing. It's just kind of one of those get out there and have fun.
Good.
But as you're kind of looking into, race planning for the next year, what I do with a lot of clients is breaking it down to your A races, your B races, C races. My A race is going to be the Superior 100 again.
Yep.
I'm putting all my chips on that. I'm going to have a couple other races like the Voyager 50. I have another 100 actually in May. That's going to be my Western States Hard Rock qualifier. Those are just kind of get out there, get it done kind of events, training runs basically, but really focusing on Superior is the big one. And that's what you can't go into every single race. Every time you toe the line, leave it all out there. Your body's going to break down. And then before you know it, you're just not performing as well as you had hoped.
Yep.
So
I even do that within a race. I have like my A, B, C goals, depending on just like, otherwise, I mean, we're all runners here. You can just get in your head and just with expectations and.
Well, I mean, for decades now of my running, I know these concepts. Like, I know that I can't have more than 2 or maybe 3 A races in a year. And if I'm signed up for more than that, I need to use some of these other races as training runs or as a good hard effort and kind of like build towards that A race in the fall or A race in the spring is what I like to do. But I mean, left up to my own devices, I get inside my own head, I get over eager, I start to feel fit too early, or I start to kind of convince myself of things. And it is good to just have other people be a little bit more objective about what this race should be and how you should approach it. That's kind of how I approached you guys coming into Hickson. A bad experience at Goosebumps. I'm going to use Hickson as like a nice long effort, only run hard in that last hour because the A race is still JFK. I
and
can't
you set a course record.
Well, it was a great day, but it was like good to have someone else. And honestly, even just doing that same training that I've always done, the same workouts, the same times I'm trying to hit. I approached Jake and I'm like, look, I still know I need to do some threshold work. This is kind of what I normally do, but he just gave me some ideas that changes things up mentally for me, but it's hitting the same systems that I need to hit. Instead of running like 3x2 miles at threshold, I would do one of those repeats and then do hills in the middle and then come back and do another repeat. And maybe I do one of those on the trails where you don't know the distance and you're just going on effort and time. And it's literally hitting the same systems. It's not totally changing your training, but that little shift mentally and doing it in another place and not having the mile markers marked out, it feels like different training and it's kind of like exciting again. You know what I mean?
And if this is all over your head, I mean, for listeners with just workouts, and that's what these guys are here for. Because if you're going into a race and you've never even done workouts, there's like a starting point for all that to like, what is an interval? Or like I said, they take all levels of this. Here comes the customer.
Yeah, we're going to have a customer here. I'm going to ask Rachel, what are your plans for 2019 or 2020?
Yeah, I am actually dealing with a little bit of a long-standing injury here. I've kind of been putting off a foot injury for 8 months now.
Yeah.
So dealing with that now, Coach Mike kind of put me in my place, is making me, I'm one of those people who I get really excited. I just keep running.
Yep.
I, for whatever reason, haven't really had one of those races where I'm like, I'm never doing this again. Other than the short distances. Like, I have no interest in half marathon or below because I'm burned out from those.
Yep.
I'm really excited about the long distances, but I'm first off trying to get this foot healed. Still causing me pain. Kind of some days are way worse than others.
Awesome.
But the hope is to kind of, I've got a 250 milers, I have a 50K or 250Ks in Washington, one in March, one in June, and then kind of building back up to hopefully the Wild Duluth 100K that I was supposed to do last year, but didn't because of my foot.
Yeah,
so
cool.
Kind of building up to that, but kind of I'm the same way. I would have kept going and going and going in distances, but you know, I'm that person who likes to just run slow for a really long time. Like, I would keep going.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of the workouts and the hard work. Like I said, I've never had a race where I'm like, no, I'm never doing this again, which means I'm probably not racing hard enough. But also, you know, it's good to, like you said, kind of restrain yourself a little bit and build up to, I mean, I've been running forever, but I haven't been running these long distances. Like, my legs aren't trained for that yet.
Yes, and it takes time to be durable, to do this year after year. I think the trend lately has been to build to some of these distances too soon. There is a huge difference, as you guys know, between, you know, getting out there and technically conquering like the marathon or some of these longer distances and getting it under your belt, as opposed to like feeling like you could have honestly done more faster, having goals with quality over just like technically finishing and being alive the next day. Which, when we talk about that tear down and build up, are you in a position to maybe do a better effort and to continue a faster goal the next season of your life? A lot of times we see people build up too soon, which is unfortunate for longevity. There's a lot of burnout.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that we're always looking, you know, big picture, you know, not just next season. Where do you want to be in the next 5 years, next 10 years?
Right.
Because like you said, the trend is, oh, I did a 50K. Now I got to do a 50 miler. Now 100K. Now 100. Like, well, let's go back to the 50K, you know, get some more experience there, get a little faster, you know, feel better finishing it. Then we can start to move up. Because the problem is, as soon as they jump into that, you know, 100 miler, you just want to do more 100 milers.
Yes.
And that's where your body, you know, can take quite a bit of a beating, is when you start doing multiple hundreds in a year, which if that's your goal, that's fine, but you also need to respect the recovery process in between.
Yep. I get the itch about it just takes a lot of, besides what you're beating your body through, I mean, it's time, it's money, it's sacrifice, travel, it's the whole package once you get into some of these longer races to get out there. But I kind of get the 3-year itch for that 100-mile distance. And next year is up on my 3-year itch. So I don't know I still don't know, but I think it is difficult. We were talking before the podcast, and we'll finish with this. When it comes to structuring your year, one of the main contributors, for better or for worse, is to how to actually get to the starting line. It's one thing to be healthy and to have our training plan do its thing and to be recovered and to like be ready to go. But it's another thing to just get an entry. Yeah. You know, some of these races, they have lotteries, the cutoff times, like you have to sign up 9 months beforehand. I really like my last 2.5 weeks of running, which has been nothing. I haven't signed up for anything. I have no idea what I'm doing in 2020, but I'm starting to kind of feel like a little left out because some of these races fill up quick, starting in December, January for like fall races. I mean, it is kind of weird nowadays to not know what you're going to be doing in spring, whereas you used to be able to kind of sign up 6 to 8 weeks ahead of time and be, you know, I kind of feel like doing this. I'm fit for an event like this. How do you navigate people towards having something on the calendar but being flexible in their training? And when should you put something on the calendar?
Yeah, it's always good to have those big goal A races, right, to shoot for.
Right.
You know, making that the priority, and then you can kind of fill in the blanks from there. But also taking a look at what other life events are going on.
Yep.
Right? Do you have a kiddo on the way? Do you have a big work trip? overseas or something, or just some sort of life event that may interrupt things, always factoring that in as well. You're not going to put a race right at the end of, a chaotic time in your life.
Right.
Like you said with the opening up the store, right?
Right.
You just had to take some necessary downtime. There's no way you could throw training in the mix.
Right.
The lottery side of things is making, planning out the year pretty challenging, but there is so many races out there. There's your select few in the Midwest, the big ones, but, start looking out towards Colorado or out in Oregon, maybe picking an adventure race. There's more and more races popping up all the time.
Yep.
Or even setting, an adventure for yourself, going to a different state park and exploring that. But yeah, the 2020 or the big year planning side of things, just taking a look at your ultimate goal for the next 5 years, because that's going to influence it, right? You don't just want to look at the next year. What's the big picture side of things?
Yep. And you can take a race, be signed up for it, and maybe as the year goes on, it was originally your A race, and now something's come up where you're going to actually do one after that, and you're going to use that as a training run.
Yep.
You can kind of not shift the actual race date or event, but you can kind of shift your goal for that. Austin, what do you have going on for 2020?
Yeah, 2020 is going to be another interesting one. Like I said, I'm a guinea pig for these guys, so I say I'm helping out when I sign up for these dumb ones. But I'm going to St. Croix with Jake. Again, that's just a fun race to get out and try something different, pull a sled for a little bit. And then my big one is in April. So end of April, there's a last runner standing style event.
Yes.
Over in Beloit. Big Hill Bonk, I believe it's called. So I'm gonna go over there and see what's going on that side of things. But then some downtime and come back late August and do High Five 100. It's a race out in Colorado. I've always had my eyes set on Hard Rock. I work at the social media coordinator for him out there, and that race is super cool. But it's going to be 5 to 10 years before I get a chance to run it, like you said, with the lottery system. So every year I kind of look, how can I go out and experience San Juan's? And last year it was URA, and this year it's High Five. So we link up with some of the Hard Rock course, go over 5 14ers out there, hence the name, and that's my year. So it'll be interesting.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, actually, speaking of the Big Hill Blanc, we're looking at putting together as part of, well, it's still in the works, but we're looking at kind of that last runner standing format in Eau Claire at Lowe's Creek for the summer. I know Big Hill Blanc is April, and when we started planning on when we would do that, it might be part of like the Firecracker weekend, which is mountain biking. We're going to kind of turn that into, and Corba, which has done all the legwork on it so far, is kind of turning that weekend not just into a mountain biking weekend, which used to have like a 5 and a 10K, but kind of an endurance festival weekend. And from the beginning to the end, we might have a last man standing hourly thing through there. So
Jake, you in?
So with that being said, what came to my mind with that format, and if you don't know what that means, last man standing is you start like basically a 4-mile race every hour. So you have an hour to do 4+ miles. It works out to be, if you're going to run 24 of those in 24 hours, you get about 100 miles. And it's kind of a cool format because you can pick and choose however long you want to be out there, and you can really use it as a training effort. Like if you're getting ready for a 100-miler or even a 50-miler or even a marathon, you can break up 16 or 20 miles in a different way than you would to just go pound the pavement all by yourself. You can use it as a training effort. You can use it as your A race to see how far you can go. I mean, some of these last man standings, they're there for 2.5 days and people run like 264 miles. It's crazy. So anyway, you can go out there for 3 hours and be out there for 12 miles, or you can be out there for 3 days. And that's the beauty, I think, of some of, not just that format, any format. You can use a 50K, you can use a half marathon as a training tempo run, but protecting yourself from the bit when you really go to the well, I mean, honestly, once or twice a year to really be able to recover. How far did you go in the well, and stress your body dictates how much you have to recover. They go together. We're all back together here. We're going to close out the episode the way we normally do, which is speed round. We're going to ask Now we have 3 guests, so how are we going to do this? We're going to do 15 questions?
Yeah, I think we should
5
just
questions
do
each? No.
1 question each.
All right, so we're going to do 1 question each, and we ask you basically a 1-worded answer question. You can only answer quickly the first word that pops into your head when we say the topic or the question. Okay? You have one ready?
Sure.
Alicia's going first. Who are you going to ask?
I'm going to ask Rachel.
All right.
What is your favorite recovery drink?
Tart cherry juice.
Oh, hey Rachel. I finally had my first.
1 word.
No, I know.
Please go
Well,
into
now we
this.
have to have a little banter about it because I got my first little 6-ounce glass of cherry juice 2 nights ago.
What'd you think?
It was amazing. I
it's
slept
so
like a
good.
baby.
It has a little bit of apple juice in it.
Okay, yep.
It
So
does.
some do.
Because to me, if you did true like pure,
The concentrated tart.
it tastes a little different.
Yep. Cherry juice out there. I guess it's like the wonder juice of anti-inflammatory, sleep, good stuff.
Number 1 recovery and sleep thing.
So you take that after a run.
Yes.
Yes. So Rachel told me to take that after a run like 2 months ago, and
he just got
and
it.
I just got it as I'm not running. I'm trying
From his mom.
I'm trying to sleep better.
It's okay. I've had an unopened bottle for probably 8 months in my
That's right.
fridge.
Thank you, mommy. All right. All right, Jake. What is your favorite? If you had to have one shoe to rule them all, trails, roads, short, long, one shoe.
Speed goat.
Oh, we didn't even tell him to say that because we carry the Speed Goat, of course. Speed Goat. If you had to have a second shoe.
Saucony Peregrine.
Okay. Yeah, big time. Saucony's strong on trail shoes lately. I just saw their fall 20 line.
The grip
likey.
on the bottom is good.
Yeah, they're coming out with
New
3
for the
different
Peregrine
Peregrines.
or new
They're coming out with 3 Peregrines.
Huh.
They have like a Peregrine family now. I mean, they've always had the ice. Anyway, ice, Gore-Tex. They have one really tough lugs that's called anyway, I won't say. And then they have the regular Peregrine.
Do they still have the Mad River and
Yes, Mad River, Switchback.
Okay.
Yep, it's good stuff.
And they do make a Peregrine ice.
Yes.
Correct? For snow.
Bring back
Plug
the laser ice,
Saucony.
though.
Yes, Saucony. And the new Cascadia for next year is crazy awesome. Anyway, off of trail shoes, Alicia has the last question for Austin. Non-running related, please.
Oh, I was just going to had my running one.
We'll do one of each.
Now you threw me.
No,
so
just
I'm
do
gonna
your running
okay.
one.
Favorite trail in Wisconsin to run on?
Oh, I like Hickson just because it's in the backyard.
Yes.
Oak Trail is a 1/4 mile from my house.
Awesome.
And we already talked about cherry juice, but what's your favorite food? Not drink. What's your favorite recovery food?
Oh, it's not recovery, but pizza.
Pizza. Yep, before, during, and after the long runs. Yep, before, during, and after. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you for coming on.
Yes, thank you.
If you guys out there don't know, this whole crew has their own podcast, and hopefully they're going to post some of this audio, if not all the audio, as part of their episode. The Trail Transformation podcast is called Trail Jam. It has by far the best introductory music on the history of internet podcasting that I've ever heard in my whole life. I about did a backflip the first time I heard them do. Oh, spoiler alert, it's the Space Jam theme with trail thrown in there for Trail Jam. Anyway, so now everyone has to go listen to that podcast. We will link it in the comments here, but trailtransformation.com, is that right?
You got it.
Trailtransformation.com will get you to all of their contact information, all their podcasts. They have ridiculously good social media. Austin went to school for that. He's got a really good following for that. Their website is crisp, and there's really easy ways to get in contact with them. They do it all. Go ahead.
Or you can personally even talk with us.
Yes.
Just we didn't share everything we've talked with them about nutrition and
they
training.
have multiple coaches. So like Michael, Tyler, there's other coaches. How many coaches do you guys have on staff now? 5. They have 5 coaches. They have a nutritionist on staff. They know their stuff. We've benefited personally, but I also have customers in the store here that I can kind of tell if they tell me right away, or if they tell me like their race schedule. I can kind of feel out if Trail Transformation has been helping them out, because it's all really good stuff. All right, we are going to say goodbye the way we normally do, which is fast or slow. Let's go all together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Fast or slow, let's go.
Fast. Fast.
Let's go!